we begin our fireside chat that we're moving into, and it's going to be very interesting. Talking about connecting with consumers countrywide, the OOH experience. Now, this session, we have someone who has been instrumental in identifying market trends and translating them into sustainable value creation for the customers. But, ladies and gentlemen, before I welcome our guest onto stage, to guide us into the fireside chat, please put your hands together as we welcome Dr. Dwarika Prasad Uniyal, Pro Vice Chancellor, RV University, Bangalore. Welcome. Good morning. We've got the applause. We always like that. And then, ladies and gentlemen, for this fireside chat in the hot seat, we welcome the Senior Vice President, Marketing, Scooters, Commuter Motorcycles and Corporate Brand, TVS Motor Company. Please welcome Mr. Aniruddha Haldar. Welcome. Good morning. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to remind you the questions can go on, and we want to make sure that you win the prizes.
Good morning, Bangalore. I couldn't hear that. Little louder from the backside. All you backbenchers, you're in the professor's session now. You better raise your voice and hands and tell me that you are present for this session with extremely interesting person who wrote a very intriguing post on LinkedIn yesterday. On his session today, he says, I'm a little scared to get into a professor's session, and I'm feeling like I'm having a viva after 25 years. And I said, no, this is the time have changed, and this is the time for a professor to learn a trick or two from somebody who has spent 25 years in this industry. So ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to Mr. Aniruddha Haldar, who's been driving one of the most iconic brands in our country in last 30 years. I remember driving and riding Suzuki Samurai before it became TVS Suzuki. And what a bike it used to be. So we're gonna keep it very, very interesting and exciting. Aniruddha and I spoke about it, and I said, we don't want to bore you guys with boring questions and answers. So we're gonna have a little bit more thought-provoking session today. And the first question, Aniruddha, welcome for this particular session. I'm gonna ask you a little bit about your own personal journey in the area of marketing, branding, across distinct brands. And ladies and gentlemen, we have Aniruddha, who has spent very interesting time in Mahindra Lifescapes, very distinct brand, almost a decade and more, and now in the automotive industry and leading very, very exciting brand launches on the other side of it. So from your own journey in Aniruddha in the last almost 25 years, tell me how the media landscape has changed. When you graduated out of IIM Calcutta, what was the scene? The digital didn't exist. It was just coming on the board. The TV ruled the roost. The print was still the big daddy. Outdoor existed, of course. But since then, how has that changed? And within that landscape, how has the role and technology of OOH has evolved? Over to you.
Thank you so much, Professor. And like I said, I also wrote that I hope the professor is going to go kindly on me. Thank you very much for having me. And just to start off the journey, so when you're class of 99 and you come out of a B school and you go into your first sales job, you have been taught all about how to design a sales and marketing network, how to build a brand from scratch, but nobody tells you how to close the month in that month. So it's been quite a learning in that sense. But across the organization that I was fortunate to be with, I very quickly came into a marketing role with the Mahindras, and I was there for 10 years. And a lot of friends in the room I know from my stint there, and the last 13 years I'm with the TVS Motors. Actually speaking, in the time that I started in, let's say, the early 2000s, a lot of what we today call our, which is very ubiquitous in the form of digital, was just not there. It was very early stages. And there were many naysayers. This doesn't work. And we adopted that at that point in time because we believe that, yes, this would be something that will make a difference. But at that time, many of the things that we use digital for today, which is, really geo-targeting, getting specific down to one single lane, into one single town, into a single cohort, getting into very message specific and a very versatile medium. That was what OH always meant to us. And that's what we were able to use OH for. So for example, while you would have all seen the launch of a motorcycle that or a scooter that happens and leverages OH for scale, we were also able to run customer testimony campaigns at very small taluk levels using creatives of people from that taluk talking about the product they bought. And that was a build of reassurance. And that capability, today, digital is trying to claim, but OH has done it in the past, right? So for me, a lot of that capability was what I relied on OH for. The ability to be present in the life of a consumer who is media dark in many markets where he's not accessing television, not accessing print, but he's still on the road because he's somebody who's trying to go out there and make a living. He can be media dark in many ways, but he's not. He's always there on the road. So OH becomes an extremely, effective medium to reach out and talk to them. I think those roles OH continues to play. What's exciting now over this period is that OH is now also being able to target very different um, types of cohorts of consumers, let's say at the airports or into malls, and now with digital OH coming in very different formats. So I think there's a lot of versatility that OH brings to prayer, but it depends as a client on what purpose that you want to use it. So if you're gonna use a knife, then you got to use it for the right purpose. And I think there are different kinds of knives and there are different kinds of OH. I don't think they need to be clubbed together. A lot of versatility, a lot of opportunity here.
Lovely, thank you. I think that's something which sums up in terms of the relevance of the OH even today and even more now in terms of where the clutter is so much across all media. And I'm reminded by a quote or a book or the most famous line in the history of media by Canadian writer, author, and a media person, Marshall McLuhan, who in 1964, 60 years back, said the most seminal line, which is still so relevant today, especially for OH, which says, medium is the message. Medium is the message. And if that particular thing is so true even today, my question to you, Aniruddha, is that has OH been able to, for you as brand now owner, been able to create that standout performance, standout medium for you? And do you now, to be in all honesty in front of the audience, which is wants to hear the all right words, really want to tell us, is it an afterthought now because of so much of media choices have now come to you because of the proliferation of social media, digital and all that has happened? Or is it a conscious choice? Is it a strategic choice where this medium is being thought over creatively and otherwise as one standalone which caters to very specific need of your brand campaign?
I think the most simplest answer to that is, do I put money where my mouth is? So I think in the year 2023, TVS Motor was possibly the largest two-wheeler OEM spender on OH as a medium.
Claps for the guy. Guys, he's giving a lot of money. Largest spender on OH.
But I would say that, like the question that you asked in terms of that, does it come as an afterthought or is it a conscious part?
Yes.
It is very consciously picked for various roles. So it's definitely not an afterthought. But there are many things that I wish that, we could do more of, right? And just like I said earlier that OH was what digital today is becoming in terms of measurability. A number is not necessarily in itself a testament of value, but a number helps. So in that sense, when it is a strategic priority, but it is right now becoming a lot led by belief, a lot led by experience of having seen it work. And really, if you're tracking it to the point of saying that, is my sales picking up, and using that metric, it becomes clear that OH is effective. But in the common planning process, that is not a metric that everybody uses. And hence it always becomes a bit of a task to, when you're setting out a sizable amount or making it a lead medium, then there's a lot of conversation and convincing people saying that this can do that job. And I wish that could have become a little easier with a lot more measurement, a lot more integration of technology. And that's something that I really look forward to this room for. I mean, there are friends among this room with whom in as early as 2004, I've worked with for trying to do audience measurement using technology. Now, you've come a long way, but I still wish that we had a far more effective measure for that. But like you said, does it play an effective role? I think there are many places where there are things that OH does that very few other mediums could deliver for specific cohorts, for specific marketing objectives. So I think it's a very valuable medium. You'll be foolish to treat it as an afterthought. But yes, it does become difficult.
Does any specific campaign which you are reminded of from your own brand repository or so otherwise, which you feel has really raised the bar for what OH ought to be doing? Or you would have wished saying that this is something I think I would like to do that if I could be given a free hand.
To give you a sense, saying that we recently launched, okay, that's not recent anymore, but 2.5 years back, we launched what's now become one of the best-selling 125cc motorcycles in the country, the TVS Radar.
Right.
When we did that, we did a conscious call that it would be present only on two mediums. It will either be present on digital in terms of YouTube, or it will be present on out of home.
Outdoor only.
There was no print, there was no TV, and we stayed that way for 18 months.
But is the integration happening? Like yesterday, we heard the Swiggy people and a lot of others saying that they've been able to do a real-time programmatic or the other integration of ad tech and happening. Is it now a very, very mainstream here where the even outdoor team and the digital team are even talking to each other?
So as a media approach, and since that's also one of my remits, what we have done is that we don't treat them in silos, and we have an integrated marketing communications function, and that looks at all mediums together and then looks at resource allocation accordingly. So in that sense, we really look at it by brand, by objective. And so we are not caught up in that. So there's a lot of synergy possible in terms of how this thing, but there are still many loose ends to be tied, which are still falling to the client, which I wish I could get some help with all the friends in the room.
Lovely. Before we came here, I was having a chat with our MC, and one distinct thing came out, and she observed on my talk yesterday with Mr. Manoj Joshi, and I was talking in English and Hindi and Gujarati with him, and she said, how do you pick up languages? And because I've traveled across India, and I've seen a little bit more, and I've taught more students than 5 times the people who are sitting here, I guess, in my life. It's because the complexity and the diversity of this country is humongous. It's a crazy country. And there is a phrase, and I will translate that for our friends. It's a Hindi phrase which says, Kos kos pe badle pani, char kos pe bani. Every mile, the water, the taste changes. Every 4 miles, the language changes here. In that complexity, do you think that OH can really create that kind of hyper-localization, which is now happening at quick commerce level and other level, where you could really, really customize for that gully of yours, which can create that impact and which is measurable, because then for that particular geographic region, as we call that, the trading area and retail parlance, where the retail store guys, your own trade, for example, how much impact OH can play for trade and for that hyper-localization there?
So I'll give you an example, saying that multiple times what we have done is, in the largest two-wheeler market in the country, which is Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu.
Right.
Very diverse in the way they do. Very different product portfolio. So when I'm selling in Uttar Pradesh, I'm selling actually a 200cc sports motorcycle. And when I come down to Tamil Nadu, I'm selling a scooter, which is meant for the family. And the audiences change. But the one thing is that they're difficult to reach out to. In both these cases, we have been able to leverage out of home to run customer testimonials, like we said. And we were able to go down to saying that for that particular dealership, a consumer from that dealership is taken on, a customer testimonial message from that dealership is taken on. That's what gets put up at the town square.
On Square.
And so when the person looks at it, saying, hey, that's somebody from my town
Correct.
using something with a value that is relevant to me.
Correct.
And I think that's extremely powerful. It doesn't seem gimmicky because it seems very authentic, because he can
And they
relate
can relate
to
with
They
it.
relate to that. So that degree of authenticity is also something that's extremely powerful that OH can do. And the second part that you mentioned, like for an OEM, I rely on about 85% of all my sales to happen through exclusive outlets, through dealerships which are my own. But they are essentially business partners. They are extended enterprise. Getting their agency, fully excited going forward, their teams. The fact that there is a hoarding in the town which carries their name, and that is not a TV plan which
Correct.
everybody is
Correct.
seeing.
So
It
they
is
do
my
have
visit.
they do have an agency.
Yeah.
They do have input in what kind of creative will go, the messaging
Yes.
will go, right? And so that the ownership comes back to that leadership, isn't it?
And they see their name on it. So that capability of saying that it's not just the TVS hoarding with it, it's got your name on it,
Right.
and you own that. So now please deliver for that. So that ability for it to galvanize trade is also extremely powerful.
I think ownership, as any business would have it, is extremely critical. More so in dealer-led networks out here. We're now closing in, so I have one or two very closing thoughts from Aniruddha. Is something which was even expressed yesterday. One of the reasons why we would like to bring brands on board here in the larger industry platform, where because we want to complete the triangle of brand, media agencies, and the media owners like all of you, is to try to have more collaboration, more partnerships, and that's what I think Vasant's been doing for ages. And I really want everybody's appreciation of what Vasant's been doing in OAC, guys. Not because he's my friend, but genuine appreciation of what he's been doing for 2 decades, and I've seen it personally. I think in that context, it's the same like in the morning we heard Mr. Pawan and others about their expectations from the media agencies and the brands. I think on the other side, let's hear from Aniruddha in terms of what kind of innovations. He talked about measurement, he talked about other things, but what other things you're really expecting, something which you could have expected from an OTT medium now or a digital medium and print earlier to OAH, and how do you could collaborate further on this?
So interesting you mentioned Vasant, because we're just having a conversation and he was recounting how 20 years back, he was part of one of the motorcycle launches of the TVS group. So we have been long-term believers in the medium, and with people in the room to stand testimony to that. Going forward, what will keep this belief going? I think the ability of experiential OH, the ability of allowing me to connect with a consumer in a particular city or a town by giving something which is iconic and creating an iconic presence so that it knows and create a landmark in the city. That's been done by a few, but that's also an ambition that many people on the client side now have. So I would love to be able to create an iconic piece. Just to give you a sense from we've all been on holidays and we go, let's say, go to Tokyo and you go to Shinjuku and you're standing in front of the Shinjuku cat and you're saying, hey, listen, why can't I have one of those? Right? And yes, we've got some work going on that as well, and hopefully we'll see that also come true. But it need not only be at that scale. There is a lot more in terms of establishment that we can do, a lot more in terms of experiential that we can do. I think there's a requirement for city infrastructure that's there in a big way. And I think it's a powerful unlock for the OH industry to be able to participate in creating monetization opportunities for city infrastructure that can then also serve as mediums for us. And then the fact that OH is convinced of building India in many ways
Right.
and present in all Indias at all levels, I think will be even more clearer.
Fantastic. We've got last 30 seconds. And before I end, I'm sure some of you guys were also there in the OAC 2023 last year in Delhi. How many of you were there in Delhi? Raise hands. Correct. So if you were there, I'm sure you would have seen my session also last year, where I was prodding all of you as professors, saying that let's create more inclusive training and elevate the profession to a level that a lot of new professionals would join you. And we had thought about creating that OH Academy, Vasant and others who are part of IOA and others. This is my last 3 seconds pitch again. Let's create it this year. And please give us the support to do that. Would you be able to do that? Thoda aur? Vasant, you're listening. Let's get their funds and start the academy. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure and honor to host Mr. Aniruddha Haldar. Thank you very much. Now we'll have those question and answer. Just wait for another 2 seconds. Thank you, everyone.
Let's go ahead and welcome on the stage Mr. Satyavrata Das from Laksh Media to kindly join us. You've got 3 questions. I'm sure there were many, and you've had to narrow them down. 3 you've chosen, 1 will be the lucky winner.
Quickly, many congratulations to Rajiv. Brilliant content, Rajiv. And thank you so much, Vasant and Akash, for putting up a great show. There are many questions, and thank you, Professor. It was excellent, very power-packed. And Aniruddha, thank you so much, my friend, for coming here and gracing the occasion. And it was a good, very good half an hour that we spent. There are many questions that have come, but I think there are a few which caught my eye, and then Aniruddha, I think you can answer them. The first one is from Abira Madison. She's got 2 questions. I'm going to club it into one, and then how can outdoor play a role in the sales funnel? I think pretty interesting. Thereby bring more accepted as a matrix driven. If there is still any doubt in its effectiveness, I would just add to what the other question that she asked. How can it help the entire attribution funnel? Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah.
Good question. And I'm sure I'm going to hear of it when I go back. But attribution is important. But I think most important is to ensure that there is a business uptake. If you're able to see through a considered set of actions that there is a business uptake, then that's the first and the foremost rule of the game. Whether I'm able to attribute sale X to out-of-home action Y would be nice to do, but that's not the main thing. But if you are able to see a considered investment in out-of-home, being able to drive up sales and market share in that geography, in that RTO, in that PIN code, I think that's the main objective. And that's what would be the measure of success. In terms of the role that it could play, I think, as I said, out-of-home has a top-of-funnel role, it has a mid-funnel role, and there's also a very strong role in the bottom of the funnel. Now, it depends on the kind of messaging that you do, depend on the placement. So if you're going to be in high congregation points which are in traffic where you're just announcing, you're really doing top-funnel work. But if you're able to even do competitive dealership locations, saying, before you go in and buy here, be sure to check this out, right? It's a move that's been done in the industry, and that becomes an extremely bottom of the funnel kind of approach. Very, very clearly the intervention is say, before you buy, check the other one out. So there is a possibility to do right from the bottom to the top. So that capability, I think the medium has. It is how you use it. And yes, attribution, you can lever on technology, you can start using mobile beacons, QR codes, but there will always be naysayers on both parts. Most important, if you have put a rupee in, have you seen an uptick in sales worth that while. I think that would be the major thing.
Oh, very well answered. The second one I'll take is from UV Uraj. What, in your opinion, would be the change that we need to bring in the OH industry overall in India, and so as to enable brands like TVS to use more OH? Sorry, it's still refreshing. 1 second. Did I miss it? 1 second. Can I ask one more question there, because it keeps refreshing and I missed it? 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. It was somewhere here. Yeah, I mean, I'll just ask one more question that Yuvraj asked. Can you describe one OH campaign that really caught your eye in the recent times? I mean, irrespective of your brand or any other brand here.
So there was a challenge once as part of, I want to go back a little because I've spoken a lot about TVS already. So let me give you a little older example. We had done a campaign where we're trying to build awareness about a set of resorts that we had opened as part of the Mahindra Group in and around Delhi, right? And we wanted to get people excited about that. So we had actually turned around and taken the conveyor belt and turned that into our entire resort carousel. And of all of them, while they were there was one um, band, so to speak, which was like a winner band. So you got to see, as you picked away, you saw that there was, Resort X, Resort Y, Resort Z, and they went around before the baggage got loaded on. And if your bag happened to fall on the winning square, then you were immediately got a spot gratification. I think the kind of excitement that simple thing generated, and all it needed was getting it done on the carousel, getting the right kind of images done, and having a promoter standing by to be able to capture and do the moment. That itself gave us a lot of traction. I think it was a simple move. Cost-wise, it was quite effective, and it created a lot of buzz at that time.
The last one is from Vishnu Sastri. I don't know which organization, but TVS had picked up Burj Khalifa for their TVS X model launch last year. What can be such locations or media sites in India where TVS would prefer for their next, mega campaign launch? And I saw it's a big impact that you did in Burj Khalifa.
So, thank you for bringing that up. But like I said, I would love to set up that kind of an iconic presence, not only for a day and an hour or a half an hour, but as an iconic continuous presence in many of our towns. And that's not an ambition that's limited to TVS alone. Many OEMs would like to be able to do that. We were able to do that in Burj because Burj has the infrastructure, has the content, has the investment done to be able to leverage it in this manner. The kind of tech investment that they've done to be able to do that is massive. And we are happy to be able to use it. We are also very much looking forward to partnerships with OH partners to say, can we do specific installations? We are happy to work with you on that in specific towns for something that will be iconic. So I hope phones ring. I hope I get a lot of emails from some of you, and I hope we do some work together on that. But there are many sites in India, and it is not merely about creating an iconic building, but the delivery of that idea. If that itself can be eye-catching, different, conceptually innovative, then you have a willing partner. Let's make that happen.
Guys, straight away, if you see a place where you can see that kind of impact in India, please, Aniruddha is all there for you. So which among these three questions do you really think?
I like the first question. I think this is very, very relevant.
Yeah, the first question. So the first question was who? I'm just confused.
For a change, he remembered what was the first question. Last 2 days, it was already only the recency bias of the last question being asked. Whoever got the third was actually ended up winning the prize. I was looking at the data, and luckily you got the first question being asked and you getting it. You're lucky there.
Yeah. Was it Abira Madison? Yeah. Abira, are you there? Come on up. Yeah. Is she there? Yeah, I think she's coming. I think you asked some very good questions, Sabira. Give it up.
Congratulations as you join us on stage. You've got 10,000 rupees waiting for you, and of course, an applause that's much louder, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put our hands together. Mr. Das to please present memento to Mr. Aniruddha Haldar.